Hey everybody, I know it's been a little while, but I'm back with another video to walk you through updates that I've made to my monochrome camera. There's been a lot of changes from both a hardware and software perspective, and I want to walk you through them. First we'll go through the body and hardware changes, then we'll go into software, and then I'll show you some changes and how they get reflected in the images. You'll see some sample images on here as well. So let's check out the body. So first thing that's changed on here on the outside is that there's now a bunch of different mounting points for you to add different attachments. So if you're someone that likes to shoot with grips or different mounts or tripods or things like that, you have a lot of different options to rig your camera out. That's one big change in the camera. The other change that I made is that I switched from being a M42 mount to switching to E mount. So if you check this out now, this is now a Sony E-mount, it's still manual focus, but you can attach all your different vintage lenses on here through different E-mount adapters. Other cool part is that you can also use all the different E-mount speed boosters to get a better speed booster or better focal reduction quality on your camera. So this is an M42 speed booster to E-mount adapter. So that's kind of what's changed in the body. It still has the C mount in the center if you want to use C mount lenses as well, so that functionality is still there. And if you haven't seen this camera before, this is using a IMX585 monochrome full spectrum sensor. It's designed for astrophotography, so it's great in low light and it has great tonal range essentially, and you'll see some of that in the pictures later on in the video. Those are the big changes from a hardware perspective. What we'll do now is that we'll jump into the software side. I'll walk you through what's changed in the user interface, as well as a lot of different functionality that I've added to the camera. So let's switch over to the camera here. First off, this is kind of like the minimal UI that shows up on the camera. This happens after 20 seconds when you first turn on the camera, but if you do want to see all the different icons, you just touch the side and you can see all the different settings on here. We'll go through all the different settings on each row so you can kind of see what's happening. First off, when you're using this camera, you can still tap anywhere, and I'll zoom in. One tap will do a 2 times tap. Then you can, nail your focus. If you want to tap it again, it'll go to a different section, but it essentially goes up to 4 and then switches back out to 0 every time you tap it. That is one feature on the screen. When we go back into the side here, we have the different focus modes. So there's focus peaking, so you can use focus peaking to nail your focus just like any other camera with focus peaking. There is a rangefinder mode. So this mimics the kind of like a rangefinder where you kind of snap into place an image. So it uses software to replicate that functionality. And then there's this new focus box mode that I put in recently. And what this does is that it uses kind of the logarithm that I'm using for focus peaking, but putting a box around what it thinks is in focus. So this could be a quick way to use it for street photography or portraits when you're on the go to kind of see what's in focus. So if nothing's in focus, there's no box. And then when I pull focus, I can see that, hey, this lens in the front here is in focus, but if I focus in another region, it'll say, hey, the very tip is in focus, or that other lens in the back is in focus. Really cool feature. It's almost like a focus tracking mode for manual focus. Been using this a lot as well. So I'll turn this off so we can check out other modes as well. We'll jump to the other side real quick. We have ISO on here. So standard ISO settings, nothing crazy here. The biggest change on here is that there's also an exposure compensation mode where you can pick different stops by half a stop on here. So we can overexpose by half a stop, or underexpose by 2. So you can see how that takes effect in there for exposure compensation. When we jump into this charging mode, this gives you all your details on, the battery life, the temperature of the camera, what's going on. There's now this mode here to select, different megapixel options. There's a binning mode on this sensor that will kind of reduce your megapixels by a factor of 4, but you get 4 times the ISO sensitivity kind of thing. So if you're shooting in pitch darkness or trying to take a picture of stars, maybe that's a mode that you want to try out. I typically just stay in the default 8 megapixel mode on here. You can also adjust the screen brightness on here. Just another feature to make it a little bit easier to see things on the screen. So that's the latest and greatest on this camera on here. If we jump into film simulations, we still have the standard film simulations that I built originally for this camera. So you have your Delta HP5, Delta 400, Tri-X 400, and then I have a couple other ones like Red Scale on here as well that are just messing around with different tints and things. But nothing too crazy, but this is still my favorite features on the camera. When we go into the aspect ratio mode, so these still have the different aspect ratios that you can snap into. The sensor has a default 16:9 aspect ratio, so that's getting everything on the camera if you go into that mode. But if you want to snap into, square, it's going to crop into square as well. A new feature on here is the grid mode, so you can have your rule of thirds grid show up, and it shows up in any aspect ratio that you're using. So if you want to switch back to 3:2, it'll adjust to that aspect ratio that you're in. I also threw in this golden ratio if you're into that kind of shooting. Someone asked for it. I don't really use it, but the feature's there if you want it. So that's kind of the aspect ratio and overlays that are on the camera. When we go to the other side now, there's a lot of other features. So we have the double exposure mode, which is kind of standard double exposure. You take a picture, and then you move over, and then you take your other exposure, essentially. So nothing crazy there. There's a new mode here called the Brenizer Mode. So if you ever use the Brenizer method, it's essentially stitching together, multiple pictures to create a bigger image. So since this is a crop sensor, this could be a feature if you want to create a bigger looking image with the lens that you're using. So to use this, you essentially just, take a picture. You'll see that there's kind of like a guide on the top left of the screen to say, okay, you take your first center picture, and then you move down 30%, and then you move up 30%, and then you move to the right 30%, and then to the left. And what happens after this is that it takes these 5 images, puts it into its own folder on your SD card, and then you can save the images and then bring them into Lightroom and merge them together to create your panoramic image, essentially. So, and there's a few different options for it. There's a 5 image, 6 image, and a 9 image mode on there. Now when you look further onto this menu, you'll see that there's also a video mode. So there is 1080p and 4K video that you can shoot on here. So if I select 1080p, this puts it into a video recording mode. You just press the shutter to hit record, and then you can record, essentially. And then hit the shutter again to stop recording, and then on the SD card, you have your images or your video recorded onto there. So, and it works for 1080p or 4K. Shutter speed, nothing groundbreaking here. This is just changing your shutter speeds like normal on here. The last thing I want to show is that I have a new UI for a slider mode. The whole point of this is to speed up the shooting experience if you want to change your settings on the fly without menu diving. So to access this, you essentially swipe up, and this moves the image to the left, and then you have the slider on the right hand side. So right now I'm in auto mode for shutter speed, but I could just use my finger to slide up and down and change my shutter speeds any way I want. If I want to change my ISO, I just click at the bottom right here, and then I switch to ISO to change my ISOs. And if I want to change my exposure compensation, same kind of deal, just swipe up and down. So this is kind of a quick shooting mode. And the intent of this is to actually put a viewfinder over top that exposes the right hand slider side as well to help you shoot in harsh light and change your settings quickly. So that viewfinder is still in development, but this is kind of the quick shoot mode that I've been using a lot more lately as well. And one other thing I just want to show you on here is that you can also change your aspect ratios, throw your rule of thirds on here, and then swipe up, and then that still shows up in the preview as well. So you have that functionality to go back and forth. One other thing that's an experimental feature that I haven't advertised yet, but is available in the latest firmware, is there's an overlay mode as well. So if you have PNG files that have overlays on them, you can actually display that on your camera. So you can load it onto your drive, on your USB drive, and that you can see this little faint overlay over top. You can make your own custom overlays and put them over top of the camera as well if you want that in your camera. So that's another experimental feature that's on this camera. So I'll turn that off for now, but just want to show that as well as a preview. Now there's a whole other experience to this UI. I've created a mobile view for this camera. So what this essentially does is that you click into your Wi-Fi settings onto here. You can connect to any of your networks on here. Excuse my neighbor's weird Wi-Fi names, but you can connect to Wi-Fi, and then once you're connected, you'll see that there's a link displayed on there to connect to downloading images. And what that does is that it creates, it hosts its own little local server where you can check out the images but also control the camera. So I'll jump into my browser on my computer, but it's the exact same thing on your phone. You can do this through your phone as well. So if we jump into here, you can now see the images that are stored on here on the camera, and you just click the images you want and click download, and it'll download the files to your computer or onto your phone. You can filter out by different file types. So if I just want to look at JPEGs or RAW files or MP4s, you can do that, and you can also look by date range on here. So you have a nice little user interface to download your files if you don't want to use the USB drive that's attached to the camera. Another cool feature that I love on here is this live mode. So if you're someone that likes to do selfies or set cameras up on a tripod and then, I don't know, run somewhere else and take a picture remotely, you can get a live view of your camera on here. There's a button on here to click the shutter to capture the image, and you can also change your settings on the fly as well on here for the camera. And you can also select different film simulations. One experimental feature I have in here too is that you can create your own film simulation. So you just click new on here, and then you can change your tints, your shadows, your midtones, save the name of your film simulation, and it will show up on your camera as an option as film simulations to use in the future as well. So you kind of get like that Fujifilm film simulation mode, or to build your own recipes essentially. So that's kind of the mobile UI, and like I said, you can get to this just by using the IP address in your browser, whether it's on your computer or on your phone. So another cool feature to use it remotely. So finally, let's check out some of the pictures. I have 3 sets of pictures up here for you all to check out. One of them is a portrait shoot that I did at my studio a few months ago. This is just to illustrate kind of what you can get with the full spectrum monochrome look using I was using just like simple CCTV lenses for this shoot, as well as using a hot mirror on top of it, or an IR cut filter on top of the lens to get just regular light as well. So this shows you just the range of what you can do in studio with the camera and kind of the detail you can get out of it. This next set of images is from the Winnipeg Art Gallery. My wife and I went to go check out the art gallery about a month ago, and I just took some pictures, and it illustrates kind of what you can do in low light with the camera. So, and this here is just using just like a Fujinon CCTV lens as well. So nothing too crazy on here. And this last set of images, this is using just street photography. So this is just to show you the versatility of this camera for street photography and what you can get shooting outside. And then finally, I'm going to link a couple of external people that have been using the camera as well. I have one of my customers, his name is Max, and he takes awesome pictures with this. He uses Voigtlander lenses. Here are a few pictures that he's taken with the camera. And then finally, the Photographer did a review of this camera last month. They did a month-long kind of review with the camera. They took a bunch of pictures with it. Here's a link to check out the work that they did as well, if you want to check it out. So that's my camera in a nutshell right now. A lot has changed the past few months, and I will continue to update this camera as time goes on. One last thing that I do want to show you as well is just a sneak peek of what's coming. If you follow my Substack, or if you see me on Reddit, you'll know that I have a Micro Four Thirds version of this camera that I'm working on as a prototype. This is using the IMX492 and the IMX294, and it's a 47 megapixel camera, so it's pretty crazy, pretty expensive too from a sensor perspective, so this is still in beta. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this to work fully for this camera, but so far so good. So if you're interested in something like this, it's something that you can upgrade just a sensor to in the future. You can always start out with my existing camera and then just swap out the sensor once it's ready. But like I said, it's going to be several months until I have that ready, because there's a lot of supply chain things to figure out with that sensor as well. So anyways, if you're into this work, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out my Substack or check out my other channels. I'm always posting different things on there, and I'm always upgrading this camera. So stay tuned for more and look forward to talking to you all soon. Thank you.